but it is the decision that is necessary, and that is why I have made it. And that's why police will be out in force, and you will be stopped, and you will be asked, and you will need to demonstrate that you are lawfully out and that you are not breaching that curfew. If you think about it this way, there's a range of additional powers that the state of disaster gives you, but the state of emergency allows us to enforce the Chief Health Officer's directives under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. So the two of them operate together. It is a next step, and it's really important, particularly so that police can do the enforcement work they need to do. There can be no doubts about any of that. And it also allows, for instance, it allows us to direct any government agency, any government department. It's just about efficiency and making sure that everybody is focused on the task at hand, and that is really intensively over these next 6 weeks, driving these numbers down so that we can get past this.
So does that mean police can arrest people for breaches now?
Correct. Yes.
And you expect that will happen?
I would hope it didn't have to come to that. It's pretty simple. If you're not going to work or coming home from work, if you're not giving or getting urgent care, you know, like you need to be at home. If you're not doing that between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m, then you will be pulled over and you will be fined. It gives us no pleasure to have to put these arrangements in place, but I think we can be certain that there are people who are not following these rules. And we just have to see that stop. We just have to see that driven right down. Ultimately, there is no good reason to be out other than the ones I've just indicated, between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 a.m, and this gives police the clarity and the ability to, in a really binary sense, to stop people, to ask them. They'll do so respectfully, but if you don't have a good reason to be out of your home, and can I say at the same time, if during the day you are stopped, if you're out for a walk, or you're at the shops in a large group, you need to be within 5 k's of your home. You need to be 2 people for exercise and only 1 person shopping. If you're not complying, you're going to be pulled up on it. You're going to be asked, and if you don't have the right answer, if you can't justify the choices you've made, then you will be fined. They are the decisions that I've taken because they're the decisions that will keep us safe.
They're insane.
Door knocking people even more often. And if you're not at home when you're supposed to be, we will be taking action against you. But again, I'll have more to say about some of those matters tomorrow and Tuesday. But be in no doubt, there are substantial fines. There is a very well-motivated and very efficient Victoria Police Force, supported by ADF, supported by others. And if you are doing the wrong thing, particularly if you are out with no good reason to be out after 8 p.m. tonight, you will be caught and you will be fined. This cannot be more serious. And it's not about anything other than being just straight with people, absolutely straight up. If we don't make these changes, then we're not going to get through this. We need to do more. That's what these decisions are all about. That's why I've made them, to keep people safe.
And the plumber's just sitting there defenceless.
Stage, you would be liable for a $1,652 fine. I think following that detailed advice, I've made a number of decisions and I want to run through those for you. First of all, from 6 p.m. tonight, I am declaring a state of disaster across Victoria. This will be in addition to the state of emergency that has operated throughout. This means that police and others have additional powers. We can suspend various acts of the Parliament. We can make sure that we get the job done, and there's no question about the enforceability and the way in which new rules will operate. Beyond that, I have a new series of Stage 4 restrictions to announce, and I'll do Metro Melbourne first, and then I'll go to the impacts for regional Victoria. So that state of disaster is from 6 p.m. tonight. Beyond that, the stay-at-home restrictions for Metro Melbourne will be enhanced. There will be additional limits to the 4 reasons to leave home. You will no longer be able to leave home or go any further away from your home than a 5-kilometre radius. You will not be able to be at any point more than 5 kilometres away from your home for the purposes of shopping for what you need. Only one person will be able to go shopping once per day, and they will need to secure the goods and services that are what you need within a 5-kilometre radius. In terms of exercise, recreational activity is now no longer allowed. You will be allowed to have 1 hour of exercise no further than 5 kilometres from your home. That means it's fresh air, it's a jog, it's a walk, it's in your local neighbourhood, it is staying close to home or in your home, and there will no longer be able to be any groups bigger than 2, regardless of whether they are from your family or someone else. Now, there will be common sense exemptions for children who are being cared for and can't be left at home, things of that nature. But ultimately, when it comes to shopping, one person goes out once a day and stays close to home within 5 k's. When it comes to exercise, it's no longer 3 sets of tennis or a game of golf or any of that. It is staying close to home and only once per day and only one person. That is really very, very important as well. The whole issue of 1 hour really puts beyond doubt some of those recreational activities anyway, because you simply wouldn't be able to conduct some of those things in an hour. Ultimately, all of these changes are about limiting movement. All of these changes are about limiting the number of people that we come in contact with. Anyone going out and breaking that curfew, you run the risk of being caught, you run the risk of being fined, and we always reserve the right not just to fine you on the spot, but to take you to court, and then it's not $1,652, it's actually $10,000. So this will be over sooner if everyone does the right thing. Everyone does that. It's an opportunity to get some exercise. It is not an opportunity to live our lives as if this pandemic was not real and was not here and was not literally the biggest challenge we've perhaps ever faced.
You hate your own existence.
Fucking get hold on! You guys are doing a great job!
20 onto 1!
Amazing!
Shame!
Shame!
Shame! Shame!
We're just doing our job. We're just doing our job. We're just doing our job.
It has been nothing like I've ever experienced before. I have 2 little boys and I decided to isolate away from them. They're with their dad half the time and they're with my parents. Being separated from them for 5 or 6 weeks now has been incredibly hard. If you're thinking about bending the rules, think about who you love most in this world and think about them in ICU.
So the population just sits there. Half the world's too fat, half the world's too thin, and you lot just watch telly.
10,000 channels, all beaming down from here.
The human race, brainless sheep.
Yeah, and we have 500 medical doctors in our association, and they are all openly named on our website, ärzteveraufklärung.de. We have also established an international investigation on COVID-19. It's called the COVID-19 Extra Parliamentary Inquiry Committee. So the question is why we did this COVID-19 Extra Parliamentary Inquiry. Because the parliamentary is not doing its job. The politicians don't do the inquiry on COVID-19, not in Germany, not in Austria, not in Spain, not all over the world. So it's up to us, to the citizens, to do the job and to do it right.
So we as medical doctors, we have serious doubts that the official story
with COVID-19 is true. In fact, we have a lot of evidence that it's a fake story all over the world. So, and that's now the question, if we have the medical evidence that this is a scam, that this is not true, simply not true, no? Pour la verdad, médicos pour la verdad. It's simply not true, and we need to ask ourselves why. Why? Okay. Yeah? And we need to ask ourselves, cui bono? So, who got the profit out of this? You. So our movement is about 10 weeks old, and we achieved a very, very lot. We have demonstrations all over Germany, all over Europe. Why are we doing this and why I'm doing this? So we want to defend our families, we want to defend our citizens.
COVID is a mild disease. Not everyone will present for care or get diagnosed.
Yeah. To just add one thing that seems to get lost in that question is that, as Bob said, and I agree, we would really like to see the data, because if there is asymptomatic transmission, it impacts certain policies that you do regarding screening, et cetera. But the one thing historically people need to realize, that even if there is some asymptomatic transmission, in all the history of respiratory-borne viruses of any type, asymptomatic transmission has never been the driver of outbreaks. The driver of outbreaks is always a symptomatic person. Even if there's a rare asymptomatic person that might transmit, an epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers.
In terms of mask use in the community, we do not think that is a good idea. Using a mask incorrectly can actually make it more dangerous.
Healthy people are being warned against using face masks to protect themselves against the virus.
The state government's advice on wearing face masks is in line with the World Health Organization.
If you do not have these symptoms, you do not have to wear masks, because there is no evidence that they protect people who are not sick.
Wearing a face mask is not recommended if you're well. Wearing a face mask is not recommended if you're well.
Wearing mask like that is wasting a mask. Wearing mask like that is wasting a mask. Wearing mask like that is wasting a mask.
No one should go around wearing and wasting face masks, please.
News out of Australia has revealed doctors are now successfully using the drug to treat patients infected with the coronavirus, with one doctor saying it makes corona very simple to kill. So far, the medicine hasn't been widely used against the coronavirus specifically, but is typically used for parasitic infections. However, a peer-reviewed study led by Monash University back in April found that even a single dose of the drug could kill the coronavirus in less than 48 hours. Ivermectin is well established and has been available since the 1970s. It's FDA approved and is on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. That means it has very few side effects and is considered one of the safest drugs in the world.